Hey guys, welcome back to the Stuff with Donald, and today I have a question that needs to be answered. And that question is paintball really a sport? Well, let's kind of get into that. What exactly defines a sport? So I have my computer here with me, and I'm going to read off a definition of what a sport really is. Now, mind you, I am a horrible reader, so bear with me on this. An athletic activity requiring skill or physical prowess. Wow, can't even say that word. And often of a competitive nature, as racing, baseball, tennis, golf, bowling, wrestling, boxing, hunting, fishing, etc. A particular form of this, especially in out of doors, they made sport of him. That's just a little quotation mark. So I'm guessing when they mean defining sport, they mean something that is a physical activity, such as I'm going to be using these main examples: baseball, basketball, hockey, especially hockey. What else was there? Baseball, basketball, hockey, and there was another one in my head, but I forget what it was. But I'm going to use those four main examples because those are more famous ones, right? Football, I think I already said. Soccer, that's it. Soccer. Okay, so let's kind of go over. I have a little list of things to go over. And let's talk about what does it classify as sport? Well, physical activity. Now, usually physical activity, you're always running, you're jumping, you're doing something to get the goal done. And that's another thing we have to go through is goals. So with basketball, you have to dribble the ball every single step that you take and then throw it into the hoop. With hockey, you have to use your hockey stick and slam the puck right into the net. Soccer, same thing. You have to only kick the ball with your feet, obviously, because you're kicking it, and kick it into the net. You can't even use your hands. So things like that. So there's always a goal. Now, what is paintball's goal? Well, typically in the PSP, such as World Cup, the goal is to grab the flag, which is in the middle of the field, and take it to the other team's base or where they spawn from. So it's about 100 yards long from your base to their base, and you have to run it all the way to their base in order to get a point. So that's not the definition, but that's like the gist of how like tournaments work. Now, mind you, there are actual tournaments for paintball. That's another thing that is kind of classified as a sport. So it is not very well known. I mean, there are actually different types of tournaments. Like there's also there's actually different types of games as well. There's woods ball, there's pump, there's mag fed, there's speedball. There's all types of all these different types of paintball games. As for football, usually it's either tag. You have to grab a tag in order for them to actually drop the ball, or it's tackle football, which is the traditional way. As for paintball, there's actually many games. If you actually play video games, then there's obviously you can provide from that. So there's the conquest when you're trying to capture an area, and you have that area until your enemy takes that area back. Or there's a regular flag where you have to take the flag and push it towards their end. There's just straight up elimination. There's all types of games you can actually think of. There's plenty of games. You can even come up with games. As for, I don't mean to bash on baseball, basketball, hockey, football, or anything like that. I'm just using these as an example because most people that are not playing paintball are using these as examples against paintball. So, so there is different types of games. Okay, so typically with football, hockey, or anything like that, there's very limited games. There's not very many of those games or different types of games. Most of the time, it's just hit the puck right into the net, hit the soccer ball right into the net, get the football right to the touchdown. It's too common. As for paintball, you hear different types of games because we actually get that variety of it. Okay, so I actually kind of want to relate paintball to a different sport I actually play in, and that is actually called scuba diving. So let's look at the definition of scuba diving. Or better yet, let's answer the question, is scuba diving a sport? It is. And usually with a sport, it's something competitive. But scuba diving isn't really competitive. It's more like a relaxing sport. Most of the time when people are golfing, they'll take that as a relaxing thing. Most of the time, they'll actually take it as a competitive thing. Most people, or some people, it's relaxing. So, golf is a sport, yes. Scuba diving is a sport. Scuba diving is an underwater sport that uses recreational open concept scuba diving equipment and consists of a set of individual and teams events conducted in a swimming pool that test the competitors' competency. I can't say that word either. I'm a horrible reader. I apologize. And recreational scuba diving technique. So there is technique to scuba diving as well. There's many techniques to it. So there's also techniques to paintball as well. You have to actually strategize when you're paintballing. Okay, so as you already know, there is physical activities in paintball. There's physical activity in pretty much every single sport. So is paintball a physical activity? Yes, it is, because you're running, you can be jumping, you can be sliding, you can be diving, whatever. So paintball does have a physical aspect to it. It has techniques to it. You need to figure out where your enemies are, where you need to be shooting, if you need to flank over them, what you need to be doing. Pretty much everything has a technique to it. It's kind of like when you're playing a video game, when you actually have to like strategize. So skill, yes, it does have skill. I'm kind of going over our list right now. It does have skill. So you actually have to get to point A to point B within like a time before balls start shooting at you and hits you. So you got to have a little bit of skill in there. Equipment. So with hockey, baseball, basketball, there are obviously equipment. There's protective equipment, there's jerseys, there's the actual ball itself. Well, let's look at the equipment of paintball equipment. So with the safety features, minimum, it's a mask, right? So it fits your whole entire face. The other aspects that most people are really excited about are the guns. This is my gun here, okay? This is my M2. It came out about a year ago, and I love this thing. It's really smooth. You can tune it. It's a beautiful thing. You can get different colors, pretty colors. And let's look at the price of this paintball marker, okay? Now, most people, when they're going to a sport, they always look at the prices, and they sometimes can classify, getting to a certain price, that it's going to be classified as a sport instead of just a regular activity. So let's just look at this marker. Not the hopper, not the tank, not the mask or anything, just what this marker is and what it comes with. So I have another window here, and this marker alone, this exact marker, is $1,600 US. So Canadian, that's actually going to be a lot more, almost like about 200 or 2,000 some odd dollars Canadian. So just the marker alone, yeah, pretty pricey. It could be definitely classified as a pro paintball marker easily, and that's just the marker itself. That's without the mask. That's without the tank, pod pack, jerseys, whatever. Okay, so let's now talk about teams. Okay, so you have the Red Sox, you have the Blue Jays, you have Maple Leafs, you have the Cubs, you have all these different teams. I'm not a professional on all these different teams. Well, paintball does have teams. Like we have Edmonton Impact, we have Aftershock, we have San Diego Dynasty. Who do we have? We have the Tauntauns, we have Heat, the Red Legion. We have tons of teams. And that's just the PSP teams. That's like the World Cup teams. Okay? So, obviously, they have teams. Now, again, some people actually classify teams as, well, does it have a name and number on the back? Is it all the same design? Well, let's take a look at this then. See if you guys can see. Yeah, you guys can see that. So my jersey has my name, my number on the back. Okay? And it is designed. Alright? The rest of my team actually wears this jersey. This represents my team. So, yeah, there's teams out there. We get our names and numbers printed on these things. We wear them. They protect us. We represent it. It represents us. So, there you go. There's a check on there, too. So, let's now talk about sponsorships. Let's talk about the more common sponsorship. I mean, you see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's every single movie he's in, such as what was another movie? What was that football movie he was in? Gridiron Gang. Awesome movie. And all him and his team kept on wearing was Under Armour. Okay, I love Under Armour. I wear Under Armour anytime I play paintball because it's really comfortable. It's really light. It just makes me feel better when I'm playing. But let's look at ansgear.com for a second. I'm using this as an example. There have been very, very many commercials of paintball with athletes, professional athletes, wearing Under Armour because Under Armour is actually starting to push into paintball. They're releasing cleats for paintball. They're releasing bags for paintball. They're releasing all these different types of paintball equipment. Sooner or later, I guarantee they're going to start on jerseys and pants, which would be freaking awesome. Under Armour jersey? That'd be amazing. I would definitely be wearing that. Okay, so let's now talk about abilities. So there are athletes such as myself. I consider myself as an athlete. Maybe not a professional athlete, but I consider myself an athlete. And there are about 3-4 times a week I actually go into the park with my dog and I kind of chase her around, and that's pretty much my cardio for paintball, right? It helps me, it gets her some exercise. And where was I going with that? I believe I was going with that. Oh, sorry. So that gets me into my exercise. It helps me with my the quick cardio. It helps me with getting bunker to bunker really fast, as fast as I could anyway. So that's me using my legs. Okay, typically with football or even soccer, unfortunately, I'm going to once again be using this. If people get injured and they break their legs, chances are they're never going to play again, unfortunately. Okay? I actually recently saw a story about a guy that broke his legs, was in a wheelchair, and he was playing a tournament. Now you ask, how was he playing in a tournament? Well, his teammates rolled him right onto the field and put him right onto his spawn gate or spawn point, and he literally jumped right out of his chair, his wheelchair, and crawled to every single bunker and was shooting without using his legs. So he's dragging his whole entire body without using his legs. Just his arms, just to get to bunkers. Now, that must be like about 10 feet before he actually might get to a bunker. Again, where do you really see that in any other sport? You can't see it in soccer, you can't see it in football, you can't see it in hockey, you can't see it in baseball, but in paintball you can see that. Especially with woods ball games, you can actually see people pushing other people in carts in wheelchairs, and the guy in the wheelchair is actually shooting with 2 guns or 2 markers. Where else would you actually see that? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've actually seen more people, more nicer people, more respectful people in paintball than I ever have in any other sport. So is paintball really classified as a sport? Yes, it is. If you have any arguments with this, email me. We'll leave it in the comments. Bring it on. Paintball's a sport. There's nothing more to say about that. I mean, I've gone through what? 10, 12 things about what classifies paintball as a sport, or what classifies anything as a sport. Every single one of these that I wrote down checks off that paintball is a goddamn sport. Okay, too many people are trying to aggravate us paintballers, saying that paintball is not a sport. Paintball is a sport. Okay, we also don't appreciate that other people are going out there buying Walmart guns for like $100 and shooting other people on the street without safety equipment or even a chance to shoot back. So it's starting to get really ridiculous on that paintball is not a sport. Alright? So, thank you guys very much for watching.